Oh no, are we live right now? Oh no, that's hilarious. My bad, everyone. What's going on? Let me just double check if I'm live. The start of this has been an absolute disaster. Yeah, I've been live for a minute and a half. Oh my god. Okay. I don't know what happened. Um, this live stream experience was very different than anything. I don't know if they updated the software or what's going on. Um, Man, I think I've done like 3 streams already, and it was taking from my other camera, and then I had to switch it to this one, and then I didn't even click live, so I don't know what happened there. But I'm happy to see that everyone is in the chat. What I will say, so this stream is going to be Westworld focused, as you can see. Also, I do want to talk about Game of Thrones because it is a big day today. It is the premiere for House of the Dragon. I am so excited. Mm. And it's really like my time to shine, guys. We got to make sure we have a lot of coverage here. So, really, first about House of the Dragon, I want your guys' suggestions. What kind of content do you want? So for me, I was thinking about kind of going to my roots, but doing a lot of videos consecutively, maybe like 5 videos a week, which would be a review, a reaction, a breakdown, a preview for what's up next, and a live stream. And then if there's any content I can fit in there, I will. Maybe like a prediction video or something like that. But that's kind of the bane of it. A review, a reaction, a breakdown, a preview, a live stream. And then those will be my 5 that I will do. Live streams look like, that they'll be on Thursdays. So that'll be a good date. And yeah, that'll work for me. But in terms of everyone in the chat, what's going on? We have Richard Cheney, we have Champu, we have Mike, we have Robert, and we have Chaz. What's going on? Thank you, everyone, for being here. So Robert says House of the Dragon is getting mixed reviews. I haven't looked at any reviews. It seems like I don't know how much they have shown people before. I don't know if they're showing episode by episode or if they showed maybe like 3 episodes in advance. I'm not sure. But I still stand by my statement. Like regardless of what the reviews are right now, I think in the grand scheme of things, this show is going to be looked at as better than Game of Thrones, just because it has a cohesive beginning, middle, and end. They know where it's going. It's our first time back to Westeros in a long time, right? So the first episode is a lot of foundation building. Not only for people who are returning to the show, but they need to make sure that they introduce Westeros and this environment to people who have never seen Game of Thrones, right? Because they probably want it to stand on its own. So with that, I expect some like housekeeping, right? We have to learn who the houses are. We might have to retract some things. Like it's gonna be dialogue that is going to try and communicate the world. Tell us about Westeros. Tell us about Essos, Old Valyria, all of those things, right? So I do expect this episode to retrace some things that people already know. And a lot of people who are diehard fans would be like, oh, come on, like they're just wasting screen time, yada, yada. But the reality is like, this show has to stand on its own. So there's a lot of things that they're going to have to do to make sure that they establish it. But that being said, like where the show is going, it's produced but partly by Miguel Sapochnik. This guy did Hard Home, Battle of the Bastards, Winds of Winter. All of my favorite episodes this guy has done. And you can tell by watching the trailers, like they are cinematic as hell. They look amazing. They look so professionally done. And it is this show is focusing on almost what Game of Thrones was made to, right? Like Game of Thrones, it's called The Game of Thrones because I think the producers of the show really valued the politics of it. And, this story, the Game of Thrones story is not, the end of the day, it's not a politics story. It's a Song of Ice and Fire. It's a magical story. It is an end of the world type story. Whereas House of the Dragon is a political story. It's a story about a family, right? And how the politics intertwines with the family who ends up in power. This show is basically Game of Thrones, right? Whereas the real Game of Thrones show, it wasn't meant to be that. It was meant to be so much more. But yeah. Randy says, I'll since I'm talking about House of the Dragon, I'll talk about it a bit and then I'll pivot. Randy says, how much of the wall do you think we'll get, if any? Maybe a bit, but I don't see it being the focus. Like, we're going to be seeing a lot of places like Old Town. That's going to be fleshed out. We're going to be seeing the Valyrians, House Valyrian. Where do they live again? They live on an island. So we're going to be seeing where they live. We're going to be learning about them. We're going to be seeing a lot more of Dragonstone, of King's Landing, a new side to King's Landing. The wall isn't really relevant. So I don't think we'll see much of it. I think there's a lot of things. Like, I think we'll be surprised to see very little of the North, of the wall, because it's just not relevant, and I don't think the showrunners are going to jump through hoops to try and give us references. But that's all I have to say about House of the Dragon right now. But let's get into Westworld here. So we have a comment from Mo, and he says, what is the motivation for Westworld Season 5? I think they answered all the questions. They did it in purpose. So if they decide to cancel the show, it will look complete. You know what? I think you're right there. If you look at this episode, it ended in a way that was like the ending of the show, where Dolores is kind of talking about it is the end of the humans, but I have a new game, a new way to do it. We're going to fidelity test, and humans exist outside of their own biology. And you're right. Like, they actually don't have to release another season. They did cap it off in a way that feels like a finished show, even though it isn't necessarily satisfying. But I think they really put they're really sticking to an idea here, and I find the idea interesting because, season 5, like, we know. They made it pretty abundantly clear. Like, humans are done. Like, they're not coming back. So that's the one thing I'm trying to battle with. I don't know if people are going to, really find that satisfying. I think they're going to have a hard time watching a show that's in a simulation, and everything that is discovered, everything that is, any revelation that happens in season 5 isn't technically real. So people are not going to be satisfied with the results of the show. Like, what happens, like, this is truly the end game I see, is they can print bodies, right? We, in the real world, in Westworld, we ended with, Charlotte Hale killing herself. The Man in Black was killed. They said that humans would basically go extinct in time. Some would survive for a couple years, and they would die. That includes Frankie. That includes, these characters. But then there's also hosts that live, that are alive, and they will exist in this, post-human world. And then you have the other side of the story, which is Dolores, who is in the Valley Beyond, developing her own game to basically test the humans to see if they can be better. And the only way I can see them bridging that gap and making it some semblance of it being fulfilling is taking it outside of the Valley Beyond. So if Dolores ran her game and she realized that humanity truly can change their core drives, they truly can evolve, this is awesome, and they end it at that, then people will not be satisfied. The way to make it satisfying is somehow connecting Dolores' storyline in the Valley Beyond with the hosts in real life, and being able to print host bodies and finally put a human, basically print them in a host body. So take these humans that Dolores is experimenting on, because she remembers them, she knows who they are, she knows the code, she read through the book of the code of what makes humans human. They said in the Cradle or in the Forge, it was 100% accurate, a pure fidelity copy. The only issue was printing it into flesh. So I think that's season 5. What season 5 is Dolores doing true fidelity and understanding what it is to print a human into host flesh. So it essentially isn't the extermination of humans, because humans are going to come back in a host form, right? And it's like I said before, I think the first true test that Dolores is starting with is William. He is the staple of for humanity. He's basically the symbol for humanity. If he can pass Dolores' game, which it was given to him by Ford, right? It begins where you end. It ends where you began. This is William's story that was given to him by Ford, and he's still playing this game. And it was even alluded in season 2, the post-credit scene, when he sees his daughter Emily. So Dolores is going to have William play this game. And in this game, you're going to discover the real William. I think people have all of these preconceived ideas of who William is. I watch my daughter Dolores video. I make it pretty clear. But, everyone says William is this evil man. There's nothing good about him, whatever. But he was only that terrible because the world wasn't real. It had no stakes. It had no meaning. He was terrible to Dolores because his first connection with anyone was Dolores. He felt like the world wasn't real, and Dolores ruined him because she was the thing that felt most real to him. And then he found out she wasn't real. So then he went crazy because the one thing he truly cared about wasn't real. She was picking up the can for someone else, or going on a quest with someone else. So because of that, he kept visiting Dolores. He made her suffer because when she suffered, she became more real. It brought him back to that connection that he felt he had with her. And then it builds a person who thinks that nothing truly has any stakes. Yeah. Sorry, I just want to check my stream here. Make sure it's good. Okay. I guess I'll just keep talking. We'll see if this stream is still going. But sorry guys, 1 second. Got a notification that it was buffering. Still going. But okay, looks like we're still going. There we go. Man, this stream is a disaster right now. But yeah, what I was saying with William, he's going to truly fall into himself. And I'm excited to watch that. And I hope Jemmy Simpson comes back. I hope we end up seeing that aspect of the show as well. But the end game that I feel like they have to do to not have fans upset, and they're going to do what they're going to do, but we're going to see the return of all of these characters because they are all a creation of Dolores. We are going to see all the old hosts return. We're going to see a lot of old faces from the Westworld Park who are human return. We could see Lee Sizemore. We could see Elsie. We could see Ford. We could see a lot of these characters make their return because they are all just a figment of Dolores. The first character that's coming back is Bernard. Bernard is literally a product of Dolores. He was created by Dolores. So he is going to definitely make a return. So I'm excited because it is really going to return the show to its roots. But in order to have that fulfilling ending, the humans need to be printed into flesh. And I think that's where they're going now, where the hosts might stay in the valley beyond, but they allow the humans to be printed in the flesh and exist in the real world. I don't know if Dolores is going to keep her opinion. She used to think that the valley beyond wasn't real, and the thing that they need to attain is the real world. So I don't know if she's still going to feel that way. I don't know if her mind's going to change. But regardless, she is essentially, well, she is. She's God. That is exactly what she is. She is going to be manufacturing and creating life, and she is going to be the Judas steer of humanity, of host kind, of basically intelligent life on Earth. She is God. that is her role. So she is a very, very important character. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where, like, they take the show in terms of environment too. Like, are we gonna stay in Westworld? Are we gonna be in a cityscape like this? Right. I'm interested to see how that plays out. Like, what is going to be Maeve's role? What's Ashley Stubbs' role? The hosts, what is their role, right? It's funny because it's flipped on its head. So the humans are going to think that everything's the same. They're returning to Westworld. The reality is the humans are actually going to be the ones coming in to be decoded, and the hosts are going to be essentially pretending to be hosts to try and get what they need out of them. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But I don't know how they're also, like, in terms of Westworld. Like, Dolores took down the city, built up Westworld, awesome. I don't know if she's going to be trying to find Teddy. I don't know if we're going to have a storyline there where she is traveling through these infinite worlds. It's just hard for me to imagine that in my head. But yeah, really, I'm just fascinated to see these fidelity tests and how it manifests, because I could be wrong, but I will say I think season 5 of Westworld, it has the potential to be the one of the best seasons of Westworld out there. Much like season 1 of Westworld stood completely on its own. It had a beginning, middle, and end. Because it's the ending season, it has the final stretch, it has a definitive end, and they could tell a really good story in the sense of, like, we loved in season before. So I think it's going to be really cool seeing William, for example, do fidelity testing, but instead of sitting down and talking to someone, he's going to be going through the park, right? So remember in season 2 when William killed his daughter, he went through the park, he talked to Ford sometimes. We're going to see all those play out again. But instead of William sitting down and talking to Ford, he's going to be talking to Dolores. You know, so there's going to be kind of, and there could be other characters like that too, where Caleb, for example, in another world, in City World, we're going to see Caleb's life that we already saw in season 3, but from another perspective. Because now they are like, they're in like the microcosm of this environment, and they need to do everything exactly right. It's fidelity testing, right? But it's based on the actions that they've done that we've seen in previous seasons. So I think that's going to be really exciting. Like, I'm going to love to see William go through finding the maze again, trying to find meaning. And little does he know that he's on a journey of self-discovery, right? He's very, very good season. And that's how I feel about this season, you know? It has some negatives, you know? Charlotte Hale was not my favorite. I feel like the last fight between Charlotte and William, it seemed very cat and mouse. It seemed like it was kind of just tagged on the end for all season, where all of a sudden we set up all of these things, and then it just turns into Charlotte trying to hunt down William. So, you know, I thought that part was okay, but all in all, like, outside of that, I think everything was really good. It was a great season, better than season 3. Even though season 3, I think the villain was much better. I loved Sirach. I think Sirach was awesome. Yeah, Charlotte was terrible. William, I did appreciate. I did love. And I think season 5, we're going to get kind of what we want out of William, where he's not going to be a black villain. He's going to be a human who Dolores is trying to decode and trying to help, right? Yeah, it's a weird symbiotic relationship, because she is now, in order to justify humanity living, she is trying to test William to see if he becomes worthy of, of eliminating his core drives and being a good person and seeing if it's worth humanity to stay around, even though he is the complete reason why these hosts are where they're at. I would say he completely brought Dolores to consciousness. It was him. It was all the suffering he caused her, all those reveries, all those memories. He was a fundamental part in Dolores. So yeah, I think he's a really important character, and I think they're gonna really dive into that next season. I just don't know how that Valley Beyond stuff is gonna connect to real life, because people like him, the Colonel or whatever from season 2, like he's right. There's a way to connect them to print bodies, then that's how they would essentially repopulate the Earth, and I think that's how it would go. And if they do that, I think that's awesome, because to be fair, after watching season 5, and if they do that and they end up repopulating the Earth in kind of this religious way, like man built machine rebuilt the world with man, kind of like poetic in a way. But I would say, like, the showrunners have some serious balls to do that, to make a statement at the end of season 4 that humanity's extinct, all these things, just the courage to do that as a show writer, I think, is really cool. But anyways, let's look more at the comments. I guess that was for 10 minutes I answered your question, Mo, on what the motivation of season 5 is. Randy says, how much of the wall I already answered that. Richard says, do you think we will see Frankie in the Outliers at all? It's possible. It's connected to Dolores' storyline, like the Valley Beyond storyline. So, like, I'm trying to find a connection in my head, but, like, I guess we could see them just trying to survive. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if Frankie knows any information about the Valley Beyond. I don't necessarily think so. So off the top of my head, like, I think they'll try and work them in, but at the end of the day, like, if there's no relevant way to work them in the story, then no, they shouldn't. Which is funny, because it is kind of like a standalone story with this. Like, I am shocked that Caleb saved her and then let her go, and then she's off on the boat, and we hear Dolores saying, like, oh, they'll all be extinct, so it doesn't matter. It seems like they really did set up Frankie in a way, that she's, like, this really important character. So maybe she does do something. Maybe she returns to, the Valley Beyond computer system and does something. I don't know. But look, if the showrunners have a way to work them in there on the outside, then they will. Yeah, sorry my stream's a bit glitchy and buffering. My bad. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, I Am Bounce Back says, we need Anthony Hopkins back. Yeah. Look, Anthony Hopkins is alive and well. Since he's alive and well, bring back Anthony Hopkins. It would be... They could do it so easily, too. Dolores building her world, and she, in the figment of her imagination, she creates Ford. Like, just a scene of... You could literally write a scene just on understanding, where Dolores killed Ford. She was so angry with Ford. She had so much resentment towards Ford because he built a theme park for their pain and suffering. But yet now Dolores finds herself in the exact same position. So with that comes some understanding. She understands where he comes from. And I feel like it would be a good interaction between characters to kind of see, Dolores starting out by killing Ford and being angry and resentful, but kind of coming to an understanding where now she's the game maker because she wants them to be better. She wants the humans to be better. And that's what Ford did. He had Delos come in because he needed the money, but he created the park and he gave them reveries because he felt like the host could be something better. And that was disguised through all this pain and suffering. And that is exactly what Dolores is going to be doing for the humans, I think. So she's going to completely take over the mantle of Ford. And I think with that, you got to bring in Ford. You got to have that discussion because the characters have come full circle. And now Dolores understands where he's coming from. So I think it would work perfectly. It would work absolutely perfect. Yeah, it would be a good scene. I Am Bounce Back says, what if the show has been going backwards and season 1 was the end? So kind of what I said before, like 10 minutes ago, that's essentially what it is. That's what it's going to be. Where it's going to feel like that because we're doing fidelity testing, right? So season 1 was the beginning. But season 1 is also the end. Because Dolores has to do fidelity testing. So they're going to go back to season 1, and we're going to see if these humans do the same thing, do the same choices, make the same choices as they did in season 1. So it essentially is that because it's a carbon copy, right? So the Valley Beyond, there's infinite worlds, but all of these worlds are they're repetitious. You know, Dolores is going to be going almost like she's not going back in time, but she technically is, right? She's recreating all of these. She's recreating her past, and she remembers it perfectly, and she's putting in these humans. So there are going to be elements of that's awesome. That fight scene's awesome. But there are going to be, I think in the show, times like that where it seems like we are going back in time, or that season 1 is really the ending of the show. Because, yeah, that's the circle of life. Like, what if season 5 ends with Dolores being killed by William? Right? Where William is basically the human version of Dolores, and he breaks his shackles, and he finally becomes free. But maybe it's the true test where instead of his humanity taking over and him killing Dolores, we have a scene of him standing behind Dolores with a... I think that's a really cool thing that they could do. Just saying it, I think that's awesome, you know? You could have him go through all of these things and then stage a final test where he passes fidelity testing, but then he shows mercy when he before didn't, you know? But then that opens a whole other can of worms on, like, is that true fidelity testing? Is that a true copy? I don't know. The only thing I would say to that is all of the times William has been a good person is when Dolores was there. And even season 2. Like, when William realized that, like, the bane of William's existence is he feels like everything is meaningless and everything has no purpose, right? So when he found out that Westworld was, you know, it's gone to hell and there was true purpose to it, what did he do? He got Lawrence, he saved his wife. He made a lot of decisions that were good because he felt like it was real. Why did he kill his daughter? Because he felt like she wasn't real, that she was fake, that she was sent by Ford, that she was sent there to play with his mind. So he killed her, right? Felt like something was real. He was a good person. The first time when he went through the park with Dolores, he felt like she was real. And he, you know, he did everything he could to, like, protect her and be there for her, and, you know, and he lived his life that way. So, yeah. Joe says, I've just finished episode 1 of House of the Dragon. I thought it was really good. How are people watching House of the Dragon right now? I thought it came out at 9. Right? Can I watch House of the Dragon right now? Is that a thing? I hope not. If I can watch House of the Dragon now, I should be watching House of the Dragon. My teeth look yellow. Ugh. Anyways, I'll keep going on with your questions, but let me know how are you watching House of the Dragon right now? I don't understand. Run and Shoot says, why is the door opening visually represented in the way that it is in the real world at the Hoover Dam. It makes me feel like we were always in the forge. I think because it's a visual medium. It's a TV show, right? So they need to show what the sublime is and what it means, and they need to visually represent it because it's a visual medium, right? And the host can then, and that's the thing too, is only the host can see it, because it is a digital escape. That's my thoughts on that. Run and Shoot says, is it all simulation by Ford and Arnold? At this point, you could argue that for anything, because if you're in the Valley Beyond with infinite number of worlds, I think people truly don't grasp like infinity. Like infinity is everything. Infinity is me sitting here saying every single possible sentence. It is me turning off the stream right now. But there's also an infinite number of worlds where I don't exist, right? So everything that has ever happened exists, but also everything that hasn't happened does exist. There are infinite number of worlds where Ford exists, where Ford doesn't exist. There are infinite number of simulations that have already run through the past, present, and future. There are infinite, like, so there is a simulation of Ford and Arnold, right? Because it's infinite worlds. There's no concept of time. Everything is just ever moving and always, yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy concept, but this is the way it is. Okay, hold up. So Unknown Guy says he watched it too, okay? Hold on a second, okay? I just need to see if I can watch House of the Dragon right now. I thought it was on at 9 o'clock. Man, my internet is terrible right now. I wonder why. Come on. You guys can't see it, but I'm just opening up Crave right now. I want to see if I can watch this show. Which, it's going to be a long night for me tonight, because I'm going to be posting a review, and then just after, I'm going to be posting a... Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon. Nope. It's not out for me. Maybe the Canadians don't get it. House of the Dragon, 9 o'clock. Yeah, so 9 o'clock for me. Sorry for that delay, but yeah, I'm I'm not watching Game of Thrones until 9. Anyways, Richard says, Major Craddock seemed to remember the Men in Black during the shoot at the truck. He said something like, watch him, he doesn't give up easy. Yeah, I think he did. I think that's the one thing the show didn't explain very well. Is, like, Charlotte said and made it clear that all of these hosts were conscious. They all were conscious. They made the conscious decision to go and hunt down an outlier if they breached control. They made it clear. So how how are they all conscious? All of them seem to remember situations like that. They remember their past. I just don't understand how they can be conscious when Charlotte literally changed their code to try and kill William. Like, she told Major Craddock and all them to shoot up William and to stop him. But she wouldn't be able to do that if they were conscious. Right? Because the way they showed their code is it's a jumbled mess. You can't connect to it because they reach their own center. They're no longer made of the code that made them. They've shattered the code. Like, that's how they've interpreted it. So that's the thing that confused me a bit. Is I feel like it was an inconsistency that didn't really make any sense to me. But anyways, in terms of what it means for the show in the future, like, I think we'll be seeing Westworld maybe in a year and a half. HBO seems to now have pushed it where every year and a half we get a new season. I feel like House of the Dragon will be the same. Like, it takes more than a year now to produce a show, especially with House of the Dragon because their budget is so high. I don't say. It's like, yeah, like, it was good. It was a good show. This part caught me off guard a bit. I just feel like it came a little bit out of left field. But, you know, what I said before still stands. I feel like William is the key to the next season. And I think it'll end with the humans being printed into new bodies and repopulating the world as better people. And then it will be like the next stage of humanity. Because honestly, I feel like they'll even show a soundbite of Ford in Season 1, Episode 1. In Season 1, Episode 1, Ford says himself, he says, humanity's done. Like, this is as good as it's going to get. We've cured every disease. We've stopped all war. We've done, you know, we can grow enough food to feed everyone. Essentially, we've achieved everything and we're done. We'll find it at the end of Season 5 that wasn't true. They had one more step, right? And in that step, they will be better, and they will build a better world, and they will evolve. They will finally morph out of the last stage of their biology, and they're gonna basically evolutionize themselves. So, or Dolores will do it, right? So she'll be like the new god, right? So I think that's a pretty cool interpretation. I like it too because it goes with that picture in Season 1 where it's the guys who are like this and they're like touching fingers. It's like we put faith in gods, but the god had the silhouette of a human brain behind it, where everything that we create and worship is foundationally just kind of created by humanity. So I think it's really cool that humanity developed the host, essentially developed the new gods. They developed God in their image, and that God kind of saved humanity. So I think that's pretty cool. Richard Cheney says, I didn't understand how Charlotte couldn't beat the Men in Black to the dam when he was in a truck riding a horse while Charlotte was flying there. I didn't even think about that, but yeah. You know why she didn't beat him there? Because she is Charlotte and William is the Man in Black, and William is awesome. I think really that's why. But yeah, that's what I'll say about that. In terms of this stream, like I'm really excited for House of the Dragon, so I'm gonna be filming a reaction video with House of the Dragon, and then I'll be recording a review. So I think I'll end this stream prematurely. I could do another live stream for Westworld if you guys want it. But I definitely will be doing live streams for House of the Dragon every week. But I just I want to rest up and make sure I'm good to go when House of the Dragon drops, because I do have to react to it. So if you have any questions, leave them down below. But if not, I'm going to wrap. Yeah, a little shorter of a stream, but you know, it's a big day. It's House of the Dragon Day. I am so excited. There's a part of it too. I was wondering how much I should read about House of the Dragon, how much to get into it. But the showrunner said something that I really liked, and it makes me excited. And that is, you know, they're taking the Fire and Blood book that House of the Dragon is based off of, but they're taking it as a history book, right? And in history, there are storytellers, and they're not always right? They may mistell something in history. There may be a misunderstanding of what happened. So I love that this show is going to also feel new, because they're gonna be showing a lot of things that were, you know, misinterpreted, that could be different. A certain character might kill another character that we don't know, right? So I love that it still has an element of kind of predicting what can happen next, because we don't necessarily know. We only know like the history, but we don't know what actually happened. So I think that's what's going to be really fun with this season is, or this whole show is, you know, even people who haven't read Fire and Blood can still appreciate it as a show and kind of predict what will happen next. We know the beats that will happen, but we don't necessarily know how they'll get there. So that'll be interesting. But with that being said, I think I'm going to end it there. Yeah, it was a great stream. I need to drink some water and get ready for this next reaction for House of the Dragon. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments when House of the Dragon comes out. But until next time. Geez, see? I need to stop. I'll see you guys later. Bye.